Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Islands of War devlog. And I am very happy to say that in this devlog, we are going to be making progress. That's because I've spent, I don't know, the past like 12 hours working on bugs to do with the whole duplication thing I talked about in the last devlog, and I think I finally got it working. I can fire okay, all these projectiles are being duplicated correctly. I've done so many internal tests to make sure that these projectiles are indeed being duplicated, that when I do destroy the previous projectile, it does in fact keep the normal projectile. Crystal weapons should be working. Let's see if they work. I think they're a little bit buggy because their death shot count is wrong. But as you can see, Yep, there we go. They are shooting a secondary projectile. So now it's time we move on to the more exciting things. So there's still a lot of bugs with the game. I think this should crash the game if I spam a weapon. At least it used to. Well, as you can see, it's got funky stuff going on. Yeah, we've got funky stuff going on because when I do this and I destroy it, it's actually very funky, as you can see. But actually the game didn't crash, which is surprising. It used to be when I was placing bombs or like spamming weapons like this, it used to crash, but it's not crashing. I mean, clearly the item duplication is working. I mean, it's not actually duplicating it, it's just not merging my items correctly. But that is a problem easily solved. I shall be working on fixing all of these and all the other various bugs and crashes that I've created. Let's see if explosions work. I actually have no idea if explosions work. Where's our explosion weapon? Let's get these. Let's get these out. And I mean, these test ammunition as well. Let's shoot something, see what breaks. Yeah, oh, well, breaks, so gotta fix that. Hopefully, yeah. Right, so I've been fixing things and, you know, I managed to get my crystals working. We've got the crystal, we've got normal crystal, they're doing crystal things. So, you know, I decided to play around with, you know, some other secondary projectile types, and that looks really cool. But then I, you know, added in some even cooler projectile properties, which is where projectiles can spawn projectiles while they're still flying. So right now it only like shoots at the end, but I managed to get it to shoot while it's still flying. And I combined these with a couple of other properties that we had, like spin, and I came up with this really cool weapon. It looks amazing. It looks absolutely amazing. I'm gonna fire that a couple more times. So it's creating all these tiny little projectiles as it flies, and then, oh, that's just so satisfying to watch. That's just really satisfying. Yeah, so game is mostly working. Game's not crashing. However, there are two things I need to finish. Two big things I need to implement. The first one is the tooltips. We don't have our tooltips. Tooltips are the nightmare that I said I'd do another time. Well, it's time to deal with that nightmare. And the second thing is tech. Tech are also going to be the other nightmare I need to deal with. However, they both have the same concepts going on behind them because they both need to access a map within a map. The projectile is stored inside as a variable, and so they both need to access that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out the easier one, which I was thinking about it. I think the tooltips are easier, but now thinking about it, the tech surprisingly might be easier to implement. Actually, you know what? I won't actually know if the tech is working without the tooltips. I won't be able to see their changes and all. So I'm going to need to implement tooltips first, and then we'll go and we'll fix tech to actually do things. So I've managed to get basic item stats going where the game doesn't crash. However, all of the stats and how it's visually displayed is going to need a complete rework. While I'm at it, it reminded me of something that Rauper sent to me a while back. And actually it was for a new stats overlay. So basically he proposed a bunch of suggestions, new shape suggestions, new different cooldown type things, new backgrounds for the rarity, new grid. But the main thing I absolutely loved about it is right here. Basically, having these little bars to indicate how powerful it is in comparison to another item would be so helpful. Numbers kind of go over people's head, and what these bars can do is eliminate all of the reading of the numbers and just turn it purely into a visual. Now, I won't take this exactly because I think that the numbers could be overlaid on top of it, so I do have some different ideas for it so that this becomes less numeric. And I'll test it out. We'll see how it goes. So I've got a basic layout and design for my item boxes. It's still very rough, still a work in progress. I need to work on these little bars. The basic layout of the bars and just how it's divided took a lot more math and time than I expected. So now we have bars, and you can easily tell which block has more health, which block has less health, and you can see there's like a bunch of different variables. You can see easily which one is more powerful than the other. Leviathan, very powerful, very heavy too. It's I can visualize my items in a totally different way. And with some minor tweaks later, we have some pretty looking stat bars. Some very, very nice looking stat bars. Now we can move on to upgrading items and deal with the more technical side of things, less visual, and putting tech inside items. That's going to be a little bit more challenging with weapons because it has to access the inner projectile and not just modify the value. Did past J-Wig say he was going to work on some technical stuff? Oh, that guy's a loser. Anyway, what I've worked on is I worked on another visual thing. So basically, I want to visualize, how much things are changing. Like, see, it increases my health. So increases health, increases mass as well. We can see that very nicely visualized. Now, there is a lot of math going on behind the scenes in order to do this. What you're seeing is not, oh, hey, spend 1 second and then, increase this variable up to a certain point and then reset it. And no, all of that is one math equation. And it was a challenge, but I got it. Alright, so I figured, this is a game devlog, might as well show you some of the equations I'm using. These are going to be some of the scale equations. So basically, I put in a value from 0 to 1, I get out a value of 0 to 1, but it does something funny. Now, the basic one is, y equals x, right? Whatever I put in 0.464, I get out 0.464, pretty simple. The next equations I have that I want to work with are easing in and easing out functions. Actually, I got them from a GDC talk called Math for Game Programmers. Highly recommend you check it out if this stuff is interesting for you. I got some of these equations from here, but the last one I came up with myself. I'm really proud of that one. So basically what happens is, as you slowly start accelerating, and then as you go on more and more, you accelerate faster and faster. And then the easing out equation, you start accelerating really fast in the beginning. As you go later on into the equation, it kind of scales and gets slower and slower until it stops. And what I want to do is combine these both. But when you combine them both, it doesn't actually produce your scale in and scale out effects. So you actually need a function that's this, which is a combination of the first one and the second one. See, we have our fx here, this is fx. We also have our gx here, and then this is gx. So this function hx combines, both of them together. And then what I thought I would do is I really want it, to spend more time in this bottom phase. That way I had only one equation. I don't have to specify, hey, spend 1 second in this resting phase of at 1. I put this function in itself. So h of x, now give me just u. I don't know why I chose that letter. It's a letter. And that gives us this. And as you can see, it starts off very flat. It's going up a little bit, but 0.0037 is negligible. And then slowly as it goes on, it goes up faster and faster and faster. And then this is coming up at a pretty steady rate here. And then it slows down and then finally flattens out. And then, if we loop this upon itself, after it gets here, it jumps back to 0 and then does the process all over. Anyway, what we've got now is we have things that kind of animate, so you can tell if it's increasing or decreasing and whatnot. And then we can also, let's make it decrease. So, you've got one increasing and one decreasing. Now we're going to work on the technicals because putting in an item and upgrading items still crash the game. So I've been working on the first bit of making tech actually work again after I broke everything last week. So I've gone ahead and made 2 very important changes that will literally change how the game is played and how the game works. First one's rather boring, but basically I got rid of the unnecessary caps. Like damage used to be capped at 999, now no longer. Damage can go up to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. You can put as much damage as you want on your weapons. The second thing, well, it's to help you reach that point where you can get 2,000 damage on your weapons, and that has to do with the tech that I've been changing. So in the past, the tech modifier used to only apply to the original item stat. If we have a Flowtron, it would increase it only by 20% of the original item stats. This means that if I have 5 propulsors, it would be increasing it by 20% plus 20% plus 20. It would be just linear. It would only increase it by 100%. And even then, there were some invisible caps so that items don't get too crazy. I've removed those caps. Items can basically have whatever values they want, and these tech are literally modifiers for it. They don't care anymore what those values are, and it allows you to do some crazy things. So for example, if I grab myself a cannon here, I can give myself a lot of firepower. So I can have increased damage, and that increases the firepower. I can have even more increased damage, and we can forge that. And we can just keep going. There is no limit to how much damage I can give this item. We can just keep going. We can see that the firepower is still increasing. It's at 250 damage a second. I can just keep going forever. I can even take this past 999. And as I go, it's actually increasing exponentially because I'm increasing it by 30%, and then I'm increasing it again by 30%. But this is 30%. It's like 33%. I think that's how statistics and math works. I just keep going forever until these bars just become solid black, basically. Chances are you will never get to, oh my goodness, that's a lot of damage a second. Let's fire this. Let's see how much damage you do. It's like 5,000. Oh my goodness, that's a big number. See, that's my point. You can start getting these crazy combinations. If you have that many damage stacks, you probably should put them on more than one item. Actually, I don't know anymore. I mean, being able to one-shot any block that you touch, that is nice. Another thing I went ahead and changed is percentages add on top of percentages, not multiply. So in the past, if you have 10% and you add another 10%, what it does is it multiplied it together and it gave you a 1% extra bonus because 10% of 10% is 1% and then it just adds it on. Now the 10% plus 10% becomes 20% because that's how math should work, right? So if we have our cannon, right, and you can see its crit chance. If I go ahead and add what's a crit chance? Crit chance. This ultra amplifier increases the crit chance by 10%. And what I do is if I put this on, it increases it by 10%. Actually increase it by 10%, but because it got upgraded, increase it by 10 more percent. So it became 30%. I'm gonna have to have a look at the item upgrades, exactly like what properties each item's upgrading, because 10% extra crit chance every time you upgrade means that you're gonna get, let's just put some augmentators, means that after you forge this up to the max, you're going to get quite a bit of crit chance. That's a 50% crit chance. That's doing some work. Also, it's got a ton of damage on it as well. This is going to change the entire dynamic and balance of the game. Tech are going to be so much more important, how you're using them. The main thing this affects is all the percentage tech. The normal tech, not that impressive, but the percentage tech are where these changes are going to shine. Some of these tech are just awful. Increases dodge chance by 50%. Okay. Actually, I want to see what this does. So let's take an item like our sand, and then if we stick an aileron on here, all of a sudden we've got like 60% dodge chance. We put 2 on it, and all of a sudden, wait, hold up. Wait, that's broke. That's broke. You put 2 ailerons and you get a 100, you get an invincible block. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. No. Yeah, what? 2 ailerons? Ailerons are what? They're rare? No way. 2 rare items and you can make your block invincible. That's ridiculous. I need to change that. I'm going to change that right now. Right now. Ladies and gentlemen, after some uneventful coding and checking projectiles and more coding, I have finally done it. You can now upgrade the projectile within an item. And to show that, I have started stacking some, what is this, barrel extenders? Some barrel extenders to increase the range of this cannon. And because there are no limits, I can just keep going. We can just give this cannon a lot of range. You know what? Cannons are boring. Cannons are very boring. I'm gonna make my super overpowered auto lasers. Let's give them a big range. I mean, because auto lasers, I mean, you can see it's changing it, and I can see the change, so it means it should be working fine. I haven't actually tested this. I've literally just finished it. Let's just keep putting it on. Oh, let's see how long this is gonna be. Let's see how long our auto lasers are gonna be after I stacked it up. Like, look at the range difference on those two. It's got so many bars. I don't even know what that number is. What's that number? 4,547 meters. Wow. It's like 4 kilometers. Let's see. Oh yes. I can snipe things if they load in. Where am I? I'm missing. Okay, it's over here. Should be able to get hit sounds. Oh, I'm still missing. Hello? Why can't I hit things? Oh. I think my range is just out of screen range. Okay, I'm sorry, Forge. We need to use you to get even more range. I want to hit things off my screen. I want to be that overpowered. Let's hit things off my screen. You think that's enough? It's a black bar now. Okay, now I should be able to hit anything no matter. I crashed the game because the auto laser is too big. It's trying to create my auto laser 206,000 pixels large. Maybe a bad idea, but it works. It works. So maybe it is for the best that we don't have infinite range. I've also gone ahead and I have reworked the item upgrades. So technically, when I upgrade my Hexador, let's just grab some augmentators and stash it up to the maximum level. I should also be increasing my explosion radius and explosion damage. So we're going to test that, and then we'll see what the explosion damage and the explosion radius is. So here's our control. What on earth is that line? Why is there a line? I'm curious. What is this line? Is this a... This is a... Okay, this is just a random line. And now the line is gone. Okay, whatever. I shall ignore that. So here's a normal one. Okay, here's our big one. I think the big one did a lot more. Oops, I bumped you. You shall be the normal one. Okay, here's the big one. That certainly did a lot more damage. I'll have a replay. Replay! Instant replay! Let's see which one does more damage. And I'm predicting the future, the upgraded one probably does a lot more damage. Yeah, that will absolutely destroy everything. I go to Realm 8, and I just use these. I think I should be able to still wreck islands, which is scary. Very scary. Oh, okay. I'm not completely finished with upgrading projectiles. I forgot. And with the other half of the changes, that should be good. And yep, we can load into Realm 9, and we can also load into enemy regions. And oh, I forgot to change a bunch of stuff. Right, the last thing I need to do is I need to work on saving and loading from a text file, so I'll probably work on that on Monday and Tuesday next week, and then I'll be set for another test version. That's all the time I've got for this week's devlog. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.